Hi, Esther.
Hi, Emmett.
Guess what, Esther? I just learned something about Jesus.
What did you learn about Jesus?
Well, you know how I always tell you about something Jesus said, and then I tell you what I think Jesus meant when he said what he said. And then you tell me that maybe Jesus meant something other than what I think he meant when he said what I thought I knew what he meant. And then I get confused.
I'm a little confused right now.
Then you'll be happy to learn what I learned about Jesus.
I'm sure I will be. What did you learn about Jesus?
I learned that Jesus was smart.
Jesus was smart.
Yeah, Jesus knew stuff. And sometimes he said things that were not at all confusing. He said things that just made good sense. He was smart.
I'm glad you think that Jesus was smart, but maybe you could give me an example from the Bible of what you're talking about.
I would love to give you an example from the Bible. Let's say I have an old shirt.
Are you sure this is from the Bible?
Well, this part is from me, but I'll get to the Bible part.
Okay.
So imagine that I have an old shirt, and imagine that the shirt is blue. And imagine there is a hole in this shirt.
Okay, you have an old blue shirt with a hole in it.
Exactly. So suppose that I want to fix the hole in the shirt by putting a patch on it.
Okay.
Now, imagine that I have a brand new shirt that I just bought. Imagine that this brand new shirt is orange, kind of like my hair, but even brighter.
Okay, you have a brand new bright orange shirt.
Now, imagine that I decide to patch the hole in my old blue shirt by cutting a piece of cloth out of my brand new bright orange shirt, and then sewing the bright orange patch from my brand new orange shirt onto the hole in my old blue shirt.
Oh, Emmett, I don't think that would be a smart thing to do.
Esther, you're absolutely right. It would not be a smart thing to do, because if I did that, I would ruin a perfectly good brand new shirt, and I would have a bright orange patch on my old blue shirt, and that would look odd. I should put a blue patch on my old blue shirt, not an orange patch. Isn't that smart?
Well, it certainly makes sense.
It's smart and it makes sense. That's why Jesus said it.
Jesus said you shouldn't put an orange patch from a brand new shirt onto a hole on an old blue shirt?
Well, Jesus said something like that. Jesus said that no one would tear a piece off a new garment. That means a new piece of clothing, and then sew it onto an old garment. That means an old piece of clothing. And then he said why you should never do that.
What did Jesus say?
Jesus said that you should never do that because then the new garment would be torn. It would have a hole in it where you removed a piece. And the piece you took from the new garment would not match the old garment where you sewed it on. Isn't that smart?
Yes, that sounds smart.
And it's so easy to understand. For once, Jesus wasn't saying one thing that meant another thing. This time, Jesus was just giving advice on how to mend clothing, how to fix a hole in your clothing. Just a nice, plain, clear message.
Well, yes, sort of.
No, please tell me that Jesus was just talking about mending clothes.
Well, what Jesus said was very clever, and it was a good image for helping people think about God.
And how God likes to mend clothes, right?
You remember why Jesus talked about putting a patch on clothes? Do you remember what people had said to him?
Well, no, not exactly. After I read his advice about fixing clothes, I started looking for a blue patch to put on the hole in my old shirt.
Well, people made the comment about putting a patch on clothes after people had asked Jesus about the way he and his disciples were behaving.
Were they sewing clothes?
No, they were enjoying meals with people. They were eating and drinking.
Doesn't everybody eat and drink?
Yes, but there was also a religious tradition of fasting.
Fasting. Is that the opposite of slowing?
Oh, Emmett, fasting is when you choose not to eat or drink for a while. In the Jewish tradition, there are 6 times during the year when people fast for either 24 hours or from the time the sun rises to the time the sun sets.
I think I'd get hungry if I went without food for a day.
Most people would, but sometimes people fast and spend the time in prayer, or they do without food as a way of remembering times when people have suffered.
So why did people want to talk to Jesus about fasting?
Well, some people wondered why the followers of John the Baptist took time to fast. But whenever people saw Jesus and his disciples, they seemed to be eating and drinking with other people.
That's probably because Jesus and his disciples spent a lot of time eating and drinking with other people.
Right. So Jesus told them about not sewing an old patch on new clothes.
Oh no, you mean Jesus is doing that Jesus thing? Jesus is saying one thing, but he means something else. You mean Jesus wasn't really just telling people how to fix a shirt with a hole in it?
Sorry. Jesus was saying that God sometimes does things one way and that God sometimes does things another way, and that a patch that fits one shirt doesn't necessarily fit on another shirt.
So it is about fixing a shirt.
It's about Jesus saying that John the Baptist fasted and that was good, but that God is doing something different, something new with Jesus. Jesus is eating with people because Jesus wants everyone to know that God wants food to be shared with everyone, and everyone is welcome to be with Jesus and to be with God.
So it's okay if I eat with other people. And it's okay if sometimes I pray and choose not to eat for a few hours. And it's also okay if I just sew a patch on my shirt.
And sometimes God will invite you to do something else, something totally new, because God's love is always new and surprising.
So maybe I will put an orange patch on my blue shirt. And then I'll smile at God and say, Amen.
Amen.